Greetings, fellow Trekkers and Trekkers. Well, time for another edition of Star Trek. Time for yet another day of Star Trek Timber. And today we're starting off with the first episode of Season 2, The Child. So, here we go. The new Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Catherine Pulaski, is brought aboard the Enterprise as it prepares to travel to Octet 9 in order to take on dangerous virus samples, which will be carried to Starfleet Medical Station and hope to devise a cure for a plague epidemic in the Rakela system. On leaving the ship the Doctor transferred from, a ball of energy passes through the hull and enters the ship, eventually settling into ship's counselor Deanna Troy's quarters. Captain Jean-Luc Picard wonders why the new Doctor hasn't checked in with him and locates her in the 10 Forward Lounge. Upon arrival, he meets the ship's new bartender, Guinan, and is directed to the Doctor, who had been consulting with Troy. At a meeting with senior officers, Pulaski presents that Troy is pregnant. The fetus, implanted the day before, is developing at an accelerated rate and would be fully developed in 36 hours. Troy does not know who the father is, but was aware of a presence entering her body the night before. Though the senior staff debate terminating the pregnancy, Troy decides she will carry the child to term. You sure you want to do that, Troy? But hey, her decision, and I'm not gonna debate it, so, yeah. Anyway. The Enterprise arrives at Octet 9 to transport the plague samples to a highly secure storage vessel. Troy gives birth to an apparently normal boy, who she names Ian Andrew after her father. Ian continues to develop rapidly. Within a day, he appears as a 4-year-old child with corresponding mental faculties. Troy, Picard, and Pulaski observe Ian, purposely putting himself in harm's way, seemingly just for the experience. When asked if he is ready to explain who or what he is, though, Ian responds, "Not yet." Having completed the transfer of the virus samples, the Enterprise heads for the Starfleet Medical Station. En route, the crew finds one of the plague strains is growing inexplicably. Should it continue growing, it will rupture the storage vessel and result in the catastrophic exposure of all on board. Dun dun dun. They discover that an unknown source of Icono radiation is causing the growth. Separately, Ian, now appearing as an 8-year-old, confides to Troy that he is the source of the crew's problems and will have to leave. Aw, don't leave. Troy realizes that Ian is dying and calls for medical assistance. As Pulaski tries to keep Ian alive, Lieutenant Commander Data scans him and discovers that he is the source of radiation. Ian dies in Troy's arms and turns into a ball of energy, which settles into Troy's hands, communicating telepathically with her for a moment, then leaves the ship. Bye-bye, Ian. The lifeform told her that he wished to learn about humans through experiencing standard human development and living among the crew. With Ian gone, the plague sample returns to normal and the crew continues on their mission. As a subplot throughout the episode, Wesley Crusher is trying to cope with leaving the Enterprise to join his mother on Earth after a promotion to Director of Starfleet Medical, which only lasts through this season. After receiving guidance from Guinan, he decides who wants to remain on the Enterprise. Good choice, kid. Anyway, let's look at some production notes here. The origins of an episode based on a female crew member becoming pregnant first materialized in Gene Roddenberry's initial pitch for Star Trek the Original Series. Entitled Infection, the episode was described as, quote, a female crew member is discovered to be pregnant, and the growing realization it could be the larvae of an alien, using her body like some insects plant their eggs in other living insects. A similar idea was created for this television series Star Trek Phase 2 in the late 1970s. Jerome Summers pitched a premise for The Child in a meeting with John Povell, Roddenberry's assistant, and producer Harold Livingston. Povell suggested changes in the meeting, and Summers subsequently submitted a revised draft treatment. Livingston asked Povell to rewrite it, but did a complete rewrite in the space of a week. Wow! Livingston was subsequently so impressed with his efforts that he demanded Roddenberry make him story editor. Roddenberry refused, until Livingston threatened to quit if Povell didn't get the job. Ha! This changed Roddenberry's mind, but Livingston found that it seriously damaged their working relationship. Eh boy. The story would see the Deltan, Ilea, becoming pregnant by an alien entity as the ship passes near a nebula. Again with entity things! Why? She gives birth to a baby girl, who she names Urska. The Enterprise suffers multiple near disasters, which were each resolved by the intervention of the child. Meanwhile, the ship's hull is slowly dissolving, and the vessel will break apart in a matter of hours. The new Vulcan science officer Zahn mind melds with the child and discovers that it needs to be transported directly into a bright light, which had been pursuing the Enterprise. This procedure is completed, and as the child enters the light, it transforms into a higher life form. The episode ends with the crew musing that Ilia acted as the being's first womb for the pilot in Thy Image. Womb in the Enterprise was the second. The series was cancelled as it went to initial production for the pilot in Thy Image, without being rewritten as Star Trek The Motion Picture. The script for the Phase 2 version of The Child was later reprinted in full in Judith Garfield Reeves Stevens' book Star Trek Phase 2: The Lost Stories. Bovell and Summers adapted the script for use in the fan series Star Trek Phase 2 and also as Star Trek New Voyages. Bovell also directed the episode. Nice. In response to the success of the first season, Paramount Television increased the budget per episode for Star Trek The Next Generation, but also changed the financing structure so that funds could be carried over from episode to episode. But due to the 1988 Writers Guild of America strike, the work on the second season was delayed, and the length of it overall was reduced. The producers sought to go into production immediately upon the strike being lifted, so they studied the story ideas put forward as part of Phase 2. The Child was held up as one possibility, but the position of Ilia in the story changed to become Troi. Sirtis praised this development, as she felt she had been overlooked during the first season due to the presence of both Gates McFadden and Denise Crosby. Showrunner Reese Hurley later admitted that he never looked at the Phase 2 script, while executive producer Rick Berman later explained that the writers did not have as much time to redevelop the script due to the restricted timescale imposed by the strike. Despite this, director Rob Bowman wanted to give the fans of the series a good episode to start the second season, the idea of which Berman agreed with. So Bowman said that his direction, quote, went a bit further than he would normally in order to compensate for the script difficulties. He was allowed to use additional cameras and equipment to improve the style of filming, including the opening shot of the episode. Making their first appearances on The Next Generation and The Child were Diana Muldaur as Dr. Catherine Pulaski and Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan. Muldaur had previously appeared in episodes of the original series as other characters, and had been written in to replace Gates McFadden. Officially, McFadden had chosen to leave as she didn't like her character development, the same reason given for Crosby departing during the first season. However, she had actually been fired by Hurley. It had been intended for Pulaski to bring more of a Dr. Leonard McCoy vibe to the series. Meanwhile, Academy Award Goldberg had been actively pursuing a role on the series, as Nichelle Nichols' portrayal of her on the original series inspired her to become an actress. Nice. Her agent was initially ignored by the producers as they did not believe she wanted to be on the series, until Goldberg called them herself. Her character was named after Mary Texas Guinan, a Prohibition-era speakeasy owner. Nice. So overall, I'd say this was an interesting start to the second season, and it's actually not that bad. So overall, I give The Child 3 warp cores out of 5. Well, join me soon as we take a look at Where Silence Has Lease. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.